Salvian arrives in a camp of Hun mercenaries who patrol on the banks of the Somme against the incursions of the Franks. There he is a little surprised but glad to find Sabir. The two officers talked for a long time while enjoying wine from the banks of the Loire, from the raw ham of Hunland, which the Romans confused with raw meat and Gallic cheese. Sabir appreciates the Frankish warriors. They are strong and courageous, launch their axe with surprising accuracy, and without hesitation attack an enemy superior in number with their heavy sword. They are said to have long been faithful allies of the Romans, but Majoran, our young Roman commander, feels that they are preparing an offensive on Gaul. Salvian remembers the story of Arbogast, a great ambitious Frank. Apparently, they do not forget that, more than 30 years ago, they almost took power in the Roman Empire. That is true. Incredible for these badly organized barbarians. In comparison with the Huns, all the barbarians are ill-organized and do not know how to make war. But it is a truly extraordinary story. Arbogast, a valiant Frank, became general in the army of Gratian. He was appointed general master of the armies of Gaul by Theodosius the Great, who also entrusted him with the task of guardian of the young Emperor Valentinian II, sovereign of the western part of the empire. The western capital was then in Trier, not far from here. This cunning Frank immediately formed the project of gradually assuming absolute power. He seduced the troops by his largesse and put the Franks at all the important posts in the army. His creatures occupied all the key jobs in the civil government and removed loyal subjects from power. He was manipulating the Romans. Remarks Sabir. One must never think that the barbarians are not intelligent. It is strange that then and now govern young emperors bearing the same names. Valentinian at length felt the danger, warned Theodosius the Great of his situation, and wished to flee to Constantinople. But Arbogast caught up with him. The young emperor received his general seated on his throne, and gave him a decree announcing to Arbogast the loss of all his titles. The Frank replied coldly, "My authority now does not depend on your decisions." A few days later, Valentinian was found hanged. Arbogast, in order to wash himself of a crime which was evidently his own, announced that the young emperor had committed suicide. The ambitious Frank decided to reign under the name of Eugene, his former secretary, thus becoming the puppet emperor. This reign lasted 2 years. Astonished, Sabir exclaims, "This Frank was thus for 2 years the de facto sovereign of the Roman Empire of the West." What a story! 2 years later the armies of Theodosius the Great and Arbogast fought in the north of Italy. At the close of the first day, Theodosius had to retire to the mountains, and passed a painful night. Filled with anxiety, only the passage of his troops from part of the enemy army helped him to get rid of the terrible Frank on the second day. Sabir is surprised. Thus did this Frank almost replace Theodosius the Great, himself, on the throne of the Roman Empire. Salvian remembers the discussions with Attila. Could one speak of the Pax Franca Romana over the whole Roman space if Arbogast had succeeded then in winning the victory? Of course not. Indeed, the Franks are not ready for such a mission. They are not sufficiently numerous and are still poorly organized. But Arbogast could have initiated them quickly to discipline. What if the Franks became cavaliers, mobile and armored like the Huns? Then they would be very dangerous. Salvian feels ill at ease thinking that one day the Franks might have an ambitious leader who would reform their army. He remembers the barbaric customs of the Franks, their human sacrifices to the spirits of rivers, their houses, sala, whose name is associated with the word dirty in Vulgar Latin. Aetius arrives a few days later and orders to Hun horsemen to push towards the Rhine the dispersed detachments of Franks. Salvian observes that Majoran assisted by Sabir shows the warrior qualities peculiar to the ancient Romans but exceptional among his contemporaries. He does not suspect that he sees the future emperor. It is known that the state of the Franks strengthened under King Clovis, who conquered almost the entire territory of modern France. The grave of his father Childeric was found, who, according to the opinion of the archaeologist Istvan Bona, was buried according to the customs of Attila's German vassals, and some of the clothes and weapons were probably donated by Attila himself. Approximately 300 golden bees, characteristic of Hunnic fashion and popular with the Germanic vassals, were found among Childeric's jewelry. Under Napoleon, these became the official symbols of the French Empire.